We hear a lot about how our diet can affect our physical health.
However, recent research has illuminated how our diet can affect our mental health and functioning too. In the following video, Barbara Meyer and I will discuss how our diet has changed, how that has impacted upon our mental health, and what we need to do to improve our health and well-being. Life in the 21st century is fast-paced. Work, family life, even leisure is timetabled and seemingly a constant rush. Our hectic lifestyle has encouraged us to cut corners in nutrition, creating markets for convenient sources of food. Even when we do choose to cook our own meals, we take shortcuts and easy options, such as ready meals. But it wasn't always this way. We evolved as hunter-gatherers, and our genetics in terms of what the body needs hasn't changed. Our paleo ancestors consumed nutrient-dense foods. Density in diet means how compact the elements are within the food source. The wholesome foods of the paleo diet were nutritionally dense, providing all the vitamins, minerals, and healthy fats that our bodily systems had evolved to thrive on. For example, fish contains essential nutrients such as iodine, vitamin D, omega-3, protein, selenium, and zinc, amongst others. Our hunter-gatherer forebears also obtained vitamins and healthy carbohydrates from wild fruits and vegetables. The agrarian revolution enabled humans to settle and predict food supply. Foods that were higher in energy became the staple of human sustenance, enabling communities to grow. For example, wheat enabled the production of breads, previously not in the diet. As time went by, new and increasingly palatable wheat-based products emerged, laced with sugars. Oils were derived from crops such as canola and sunflower, and these too became staples of our diet. Advances in animal husbandry introduced enhanced access to meat consumption and new foods such as milk, cheese, butter, and yogurt. These new or increased levels of foods were again inconsistent with the diets that we evolved to thrive on. While our nutrition needs have not changed from our Paleolithic ancestry, the industrialisation of our food supply has radically changed our diet, with a reduction of nutrient density, an increase in energy density, and the consumption of nutrient-poor foods. Through this change in diet, we have changed. And with that change has come the emergence of a range of non-communicable diseases such as diabetes, heart disease, stroke, and cancers.
It's not what you see, but what you don't see in foods that affects our health. The change in our diet has brought a range of invisible changes. Notably, the change in the type of fats in our diet and what ends up in our bodies. Primarily, this has been the emergence or escalation of trans fats, saturated fats, and the overabundance of omega-6 polyunsaturated fats at the expense of omega-3 polyunsaturated fats. Numerous health conditions are associated with industrially produced trans fats and saturated fats. However, another issue is the over-availability of omega-6 through the consumption of readily available foods. The consequence of this is that we consume far greater amounts of omega-6 than omega-3, and the omega-6 displaces the omega-3s in our body systems. Why does this matter? While both omega-6 and omega-3 are essential for healthy bodily function, an excess of omega-6 is associated with pro-inflammatory processes and impaired neurological function. We won't deal too much with inflammatory processes in this presentation, but rather focus on the role of fatty acids in the brain and how it impacts upon cognitive functioning. To get a better understanding of how fats affect our mental health, we need to consider the molecular makeup of these fatty acids. Fatty acids in our body tissues are part of phospholipids, which have a head and two fatty acid tails. The type of fatty acid defines the structure of the tail. Saturated fatty acids have no carbon-to-carbon bonds, as all carbon atoms are saturated with hydrogen. That's why they are called saturated fats. This makes their structure very rigid and straight. All phospholipids have one saturated tail attached to the head. In addition, a second fatty acid tail may be monounsaturated or polyunsaturated, meaning they have at least two carbon-to-carbon double bonds. When this occurs, it results in a kink in the fatty acid structure. This allows the tail to move around that kink. In the case of omega-6, the double bond occurs on the 6th carbon atom from the head of the fatty acid chain. However, with omega-3, the double bond occurs on the 3rd carbon atom from the head. The position of the double bond on the 3rd carbon allows greater movement closer to the head. The kinks in the fatty acid tails enable greater space between the fatty acids within cell membranes. With omega-6, less space is taken than with omega-3. As you can see, the tails are mobile, not static, so the increased space taken by the additional kinks is enhanced. A good analogy is to think of the fatty acids, be they saturated with no kinks, monounsaturated with only one kink, polyunsaturated with more than one kink, and the omega-3 with the greater space to be able to move in. Omega-3 polyunsaturated fats are the least viscous, and movement through cell membranes is analogous to a person moving through water. As we look at the effect of omega-6, the difficulty increases, like moving through an oil slick. By the time we get to saturated fats, it is like moving through mud, with the person's movement significantly impeded and the speed of movement significantly slower. The cell membrane is constructed of a series of these phospholipids and is called the phospholipid bilayer. Communication between cells requires passage of messenger substances through the membrane. As can be seen, the more tightly packed the phospholipid bilayer, the more difficult it is for messages to travel between cells. In this way, the nature of the bilayer in brain cells can affect overall cognition and mental health. However, where the membrane is less tightly packed, as is the case where omega-3 is abundant, the messages travel more quickly. Of course, there is a lot more to the story than just the space within the bilayer in terms of both physical and mental health. The specific fatty acids produced through the processes of fat metabolism, such as eicosapentaenoic acid, known as EPA, and docosahexaenoic acid, known as DHA, have other beneficial actions. For example, DHA has been shown to promote neuronal cell growth and enhance the production of neurotransmitters such as serotonin and dopamine. This might explain why some studies have found a relationship between low levels of omega-3 and depression. Furthermore, omega-6, which you will recall is overly abundant in the modern food supply, also increases the likelihood of pro-inflammatory eicosanoids, a type of signalling molecule, while omega-3 EPA produces different eicosanoids which have an anti-inflammatory action. The overabundance of omega-6 results in an overabundance of these pro-inflammatory eicosanoids. While the human body can synthesize EPA and DHA from various food sources, it cannot produce enough to effectively compete with the overabundance of omega-6s in our diet. So to overcome this, we should consume foods that contain preformed EPA and DHA, and these foods are found in fish, seafood, algae and seaweed. Alternatively, omega-3 can be obtained from supplements. If we consume a sufficient quantity of preformed omega-3 fatty acids, the body will preferentially expel the omega-6s, resulting in an enhancement of our physical and mental health.
From a mental health perspective, there is a growing body of evidence that links a relationship between lower levels of omega-3 with a higher incidence of a range of mental health conditions, including depression, anxiety and ADHD. There are also a number of well-designed studies which demonstrate an amelioration of the symptoms when people with mental health problems are given omega-3 supplements. Research into mental health and omega-3 has also demonstrated changes in behaviours, not just symptoms, of people with various mental health conditions. These include observations that supplementation can enhance attention and reduce impulsive and self-damaging behaviours. So how is mental health affected by the relative ratio of omega-3 to omega-6? Although the exact mechanisms are not yet known, studies have identified omega-3 as improving cognitive functioning and as an overall cognitive enhancer. If we remember that the phospholipid membrane is more fluid with omega-3 fatty acids, allowing improved intercellular communication, then it makes sense that replacing omega-6 with omega-3 will improve thought processes. It's a bit like replacing the old copper wires with fibre optics. improving the speed of the internet. On top of a more efficient brain, omega-3 enhances neuronal growth and the production of neurotransmitters, such as serotonin and dopamine. So not only do we have faster data transmission, but we also improve how well that information is managed, much like having a bigger hard drive and better software on our computers. Omega-3 is not a panacea for mental health, nor an impermeable shield for all physical health conditions. However, it is an important adjunct to any treatment or management plan for general health. Science is telling us that which we have known for centuries.
And as a great philosopher, Hippocrates said, "Let food be thy medicine, and medicine be thy food. Eat wisely."